Today is Friday, March 25th, and you can see that it was a little bit of a strange day. It popped up a little bit, and it was really all dependent on the Senate and the House agreeing to the bill. But towards the end of the day, it became apparent that there were some objections by 4 Republican senators about the possibility of people making more money off unemployment insurance than their jobs. So it got stalled, so that created a bit of uncertainty, and we saw prices drop. Advancer still led decliners by 3-1, which, interestingly enough, hard to believe, but it takes the McClellan oscillator into the overbought territory, which we would hardly think that this is overbought, but it's just that it happened so quickly. These 3 days have just happened so quickly. The momentum perhaps has swung too far too fast, and it's going to have to slow down a little bit. We're going to look at the summation index as well, and the summation index barely ticked up just a tiny little bit. If we look at the difference here, the summation index yesterday was 28.34 negative. Today it's about 90, well, it's 90 points less. It's the first positive oscillator day that we've seen since when? Well, when was the last time we saw a positive oscillator day? Let's go all the way back to February the 20th was the last day we saw a positive day, and that was the only day, and the 14th. So we had quite a few before that, but it's been February, March. It's only been a month and a few days, but we've had negative oscillator days in all those days. Is this a turnaround, a turnabout? I really don't think so, because let's look at some of the stocks. Look at what the S&P did. It made it. We said yesterday it stopped at the ADMA. Today it came down and bounced. It opened up at the ADMA and moved up really quite strongly, and then pulled back. And it pulled back strongly, so that's a bit of a concern. It's at the 38.2%. It's just a little bit above that right now, but it's holding the 38.2. Apple was the one that was really concerning. It was up $10 at one point during the day, and it hit the 38.2% Fibonacci line, smack dead on, which is where the 200 EMA is. And both of those proved to be resistance with sellers sitting up there, and that drove it down to the point where at the end of the day it actually lost a few pennies. It's up a little bit after the market. Volume wasn't particularly strong. That $10 would have been nice to have, but it wasn't to be. The REITs, AGNC, the preferred share in the REITs came back nicely. I forget looking at the chart, but up 12%, and this one was up 4%. AGNC itself was up 14.3%. Now this is a mortgage REIT, and I guess with the Fed buying everything it can with both fists, AGNC will be able to sell their mortgages to the government, and that's what it is. It's a Fed-backed mortgage reinvestment trust. Anyways, look it up, study it a little bit. I really like it. It's been a steady dividend earner for me, not necessarily a price winner. Look at, it's been as high as, it was even higher than that. If we look on a weekly chart, it's been as high as $36. So it hasn't been a winner in terms of holding it for the long term, but it's been paying dividends, AGNC, every week. And the preferred shares pay quite nicely, 7, 6, 7, 8, currently paying 9% for a year. Caterpillar, nice little move. This is the weekly chart heading towards this gap. The volume for the week is pretty good so far. The volume for the day, a little bit less than yesterday. Coca-Cola up 275. Nice to see that bounce off of 50%. Home Depot was disappointing. Home Depot took off today and then pulled back. All my stock is covered with a series of short calls, so I don't mind some stuttering here. If it wants to channel for a little bit, that would be good. That would burn off some of the premium for me in my April short calls. But this is just still a good stock. And on any weakness getting down to 160, I'd like to buy another couple hundred shares. I've got 500 so far, and I'd like to go for 1,000. I've missed the dividend. The ex-dividend date was March the 15th, so I won't see another dividend on that stock for another 3 months. Whirlpool, I read today that Lowe's CEO said that people are buying appliances and are doing home renovations while they're working from home. That would remain to be seen. We had this big pop yesterday. We certainly didn't see a follow through today, and pretty weak volume. So the VIX took a bit of a drop. Not what we saw yesterday, where the exuberance led to a big drop in the volatility. We saw the volatility pop a little bit today, so let's keep an eye on that. It's quite possible that the volatility will come back into the 80s before this is all over. S&P, is this going to be a V-shaped bottom, a U-shaped bottom, or a W-shaped bottom? That's what we want to see. My guess it's going to be a W-shaped bottom. I'm going to think it's going to go down to 23.54. I'm going to take this arrow out of there and I'm going to put one here saying, I expect we're going to go down and test 23.54 again, have a W-shaped bottom, and then we'll move higher. But the coronavirus is still a long way from being resolved. New York thinks they're going to see the worst of it in 2 weeks from now. And that may be just the tip of the iceberg. Remember, this is moving from China westward. It got to Iran, it got to Italy, Spain, east coast of the United States, and the west coast of the United States, of course, from its proximity to China. But from a community point of view, I think it's still moving towards the Midwest, and it's converging there from both ends. So the worst is yet to come, and I think that is going to be reflected in the S&P. The enthusiasm, you know how the market is. It's pretty short on memory. Let's just keep an open mind, but be careful. I'm down to 10% cash now, but I've been buying stuff at what I think is a pretty good price. Maybe I'll get an opportunity to buy some more and spend a little bit of margin as well. But let's wait and see.